Hey guys, Ryan here. Happy Friday. I've got 3 updates for you this week. First, I want you to check out our Facebook page. So the address is facebook.com/HammerCanada. This morning I posted a mock-up of our new Ambassador cycling kits. Now, these are especially reserved for our 9 athlete ambassadors. And you'll notice that on the sleeve and on the shorts, they've got a special Hammer Ambassador designation. Why this is relevant to you is it's going to give you an idea of where some of our new clothing, what it's going to look like for 2014, especially with the new Hammer Canada logo that we did. So take a look and let us know what you think. Alright, update number 2. Yesterday, the latest edition of Hammer Nutrition Endurance News came out. This is the February-March magazine. If you haven't read it before, it's got a ton of great information on general nutrition, sport nutrition, new Hammer products that are coming out, and athlete updates from really all around the world. Now, what's especially cool about this update is that we have our own Canadian section this time around. In it this time, we've got an update from Scott McDermott on his Ultraman World Championship, and also some stories from the Great Divide mountain bike tour that I led this past August. So I'll put the link in the description below. You can also check it out on our Facebook page. Alright, here we go. Update number 3. Well, okay, now that I think about it, it's not really an update, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to tell you a little bit about how I connected with Hammer Nutrition in the first place. So I've been the fueling guru for a couple of years now. Before that, I was a sponsored athlete, and even before that, I was one of those lost fools that had no idea what to do with my sports nutrition. The first time I had a real serious thought about sport nutrition was when I first began racing back in 2002. Now, mind you, this is after I'd done a ton of touring, had cycled across Canada, 14,000 kilometers around North America. But all during those trips, I ate pretty much whatever I wanted, drank whatever I wanted, and well, whatever was pretty much the result. But when I started serious racing, of course my attention honed in on what other athletes were drinking and eating at the time. And you know, without naming names, you know, there was the standard foil bar, and there was the fluorescent drink that you could get at any corner store. But you know, as a kid, you're not really thinking healthy nutrition options, as well as that there could be something better out there. You're kind of going for what is the most popular. It wasn't until I started training for another big endeavor called the Race Across America in 2008 that I really started to hone in on what I would call endurance fueling. So thinking beyond that 100-kilometer mark. Well, you know what? For some people, that is going to be an endurance challenge. So let's be fair. Anyways. Race Across America, it's a coast-to-coast race. You start in, the year I did it anyways, Oceanside, California, go all the way to Annapolis, Maryland. It's 24 hours a day, as fast as you can do it. And Hammer Nutrition was one of the sponsors at the time when I did it. Now, I had never really heard of Hammer Nutrition, but I had started to realize that there was a better way to be fueling. And this is when I started hearing new elements in the discussion about proteins and fats, not just carbohydrates and electrolytes. And I started to realize that I needed a more comprehensive calorie if I was going for hour upon hour upon hour. When I first tried to qualify for the Race Across America, it took me 2 attempts. The first attempt was at an event called the Sebring 24 hour down in Florida. And once again defaulted to the fluorescent sport drink. Tons of sugar, but you know, it had the electrolytes, had the carbohydrates, water of course, and I figured that's where I would get my hydration from. Now, as far as my comprehensive calorie goes, I started drinking another popular product. It was a meal in a can, about yay big. You pop the top, you drink it. Ton of calories, a meal in a can like they say, but also once again, like the neon drink, a ton of sugar. But I was learning and I was navigating this, you know, the endurance path. It was my birthday at the time, I finished on my birthday, ridden the furthest I'd ever gone in my whole life, but I missed the Race Across America standard by, I think it was something like 50 miles. And, you know, maybe even worse than that, my gut was just killing me. Because after 24 hours, I had just built up a ton of sugar. My body wasn't processing it. And it becomes very harmful and has negative effects. Where I started to even realize this more was on my second attempt at a race called the Race Across Oregon. I think it was something like 535 miles. You do it over 2 days, over a ton of mountain passes. It's really something crazy. So again, I had the sugary sport drink and the sugary meal in a can, and I thought, you know, maybe I just have to you know, dial one back or dial one up, and maybe, you know, that will be my solution. But after, what I was realizing was about, you know, after six hours, you know, maybe even 4 hours, what I was starting to notice was that my mouth was starting to get really sore. And I wasn't sure at first if it was just from eating and drinking all the time. But the more I did these things, the qualifier and training rides leading up, was that I started to realize that it was actually the sugar in the products. It was starting to wear down basically my inside out. And the best way I can relate it, one of the stories I love to tell, is you know, if you ever get a sour candy, you know, we all know what I'm talking about, and you suck on it, and it's one of those candies that you just, you know, keep sucking on it, and after you've had like 10 of them, your mouth just gets sore. You don't really want any more. And part of that's the sugar, and part of it's, you know, just the irritation. But that's how my mouth was starting to feel from constantly taking in all these simple sugars hour after hour. So I finally qualify for Race Across America. I'm super excited, ready to do it, find enough sponsorship, but still don't really have my nutrition dialed in. So once again, like I said, this is when I first learned about Hammer Nutrition. Their logo was on the RAM website. Clicked on it, I wanted to learn more. You know, obviously if they're a sponsor of the race, you think that, you know, basically the athletes endorse the product, and so do the race directors. So I'm checking out the Hammer website, and you know, what really struck me right away was the level of education that they were providing on their website. And this is something that we want to try to include more on the Canadian website too. But really there was a ton of facts on you know, sport nutrition and proper fueling, and it wasn't like a hammer pitch, you know, every time you clicked on something. It was just good sound advice, and that's something that I wasn't seeing on a lot of other companies' websites. So it intrigued me, and it drew me in and made me want to learn more about the product. So as the story goes, all the riders, the solo riders, would get 50% off their Hammer Nutrition purchase as part of the RAM sponsorship. And one day while I was training down in Phoenix, bunch of boxes showed up at at the door of the place where I was staying. It's like $1,000, maybe $2,000 worth of Hammer stuff. Completely filled my truck for the return trip. But this was going to be my fueling to get me across the country. Now, I still hadn't really tried Hammer yet, surprisingly, and you know, I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but my first real introduction to Hammer, like first real test, was the first day of Race Across America. We started in Oceanside, blast over the coastal mountain range, and descend right down into Death Valley. It's like the hottest time of the year, and I had missed meeting up with my crew, I think once or twice for a bottle exchange. So I was getting dehydrated, I was, you know, going nuts, I was hitting the wall. I was in, I think, second place behind Yuri Robic, or sorry, maybe third place behind Yuri and one other rider going into the first time station. And, you know, of course my ego is going nuts. We descend down into Death Valley. My first real introduction to Hammer is I start cramping, I'm sweating, I have a full body cramp, the worst cramp I've ever had in my life. So bad that my crew has to grab me as I slow to a stop because I can't physically get off the bike myself. So they grab me, they sit me down in a lawn chair, they start dousing my head with water, ice, massage, I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe, I've got another, 11 days of this agony and in this heat. And my father, he grabs my hand, puts down like 6 or 8 Enduralite capsules, and he says, put these in your mouth and chew them now. And this is my first like real test of Hammer Nutrition. Full body cramp, put them in, chew it, like worst taste in your mouth. It's not meant to be crunched in your mouth. Take it back a swig of water, sit there, and slowly I start to feel the cramps subsiding. My crew gets me up, back on the bike, and that was my first introduction to Hammer. Have a good weekend, guys.